Scientists have discovered proof that our DNA has been tampered with. There is evidence that suggests in 4 different ways, and 2 of those are only possible through lab work. In other words, every human on this planet has genetics with the proof of alterations that could have only have been possible in a lab. Lab work traces of gene splicing that would not be present from our real creation. Fusing of genes, which is an advanced lab technique. Inverted sections of genes that are beyond our understanding. There's a plethora of unexplained genes that appear to be disabled. They don't fit in with any other genes here on Earth. More concerning, 10 times the acceptable amount of defect gene sets. It's not impossible, but astronomically improbable, and all of this applies to all humans on Earth, including ones they carbon date. In other words, we either got this bad shape upon coming to Earth, or had them before getting here. The messed up part is we have over 4,000 defects. It's beyond cruelty. Whoever did this to us wanted us to suffer. Even stranger is that we only use 10% of our brain's capacity. It is possible that this tampering is why. The changes done to us might do more than just put us in the dumbed down factor. They could be super abilities just like God and Jesus had. God made sure that when Jesus left, he had recovered his body so that no sperm or DNA was left behind. Of course, he didn't make an appearance to retrieve Jesus, he sent an angel. What a coincidence. Sadly, our current genes not only show tampering, but defects that either suggest the possibility of mistakes and manipulation, but possibly just to make us sick, slow, and weak. One of the things God didn't want us to have was the ability to leave Earth. When God punished us in the Tower of Babel, it wasn't because we got too close to God. It was a way of saying the lab rats are not to leave the cage. Doing so could let the cat out of the bag. We could let our home planet know about the horrible thing that they've done to us. I'm guessing that our priorities and morals might be a little different on our home planet. I don't think abducting, genetically altering our DNA, experimenting, erasing our memory, removing our higher abilities are things that would be taken lightly. While I have no proof that our higher abilities were removed by them, it is just a very good assumption that I make. The Bible does make reference to us getting visits from what appears to be alien life, even in the Ezekiel chapter. God appears to come down in what seems to be an attempted description of a UFO, along with 4-headed creatures. This is obviously someone that possesses the ability to do DNA manipulation, because it was a mutation of man, lion, ox, and eagle. There are also other times UFOs appear in the Bible as well. We have avoided the obvious for far too long, simply because we found it easier to believe in things we couldn't understand, all the way to having imaginary friends. When God gave us the gift of Jesus, it was truly a miracle. Jesus could do things that even by today's standards, we can only dream about. Of course, if we are seeing this while we appear to have 90% of our mental abilities disabled, along with the damaged DNA, I'm going to guess that in our intended design, we possessed those same abilities. The Virgin Mary was in fact a virgin, and yes, she was after her birth, and we can also do that today. It's called artificial insemination. God was not a real creator. He was more of a mad scientist. He kidnapped Adam and Eve from heaven, erased their memories so they wouldn't have any recollection of what he did, genetically altered their DNA to put us in what I refer to as the dumb-down factor, and the meek was ready to inherit the earth. With 90% of our mental abilities missing, we are very meek. This is why we had to be instructed in the form of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. In other words, if the lab rats kill each other, they have no more test subjects. We would not have made it without direction because we are in the dumb-down fact, and I have a feeling they put us there. Aliens have always had the ability to erase our memory. People sometimes realize days or weeks later that they were abducted. The reason God never showed his face was because we knew him. The human race from the heavens is probably very familiar with his race. Seeing his face could have easily invoked total recall to a TGA victim. This also means something else. God had help, a lot of help, from other races that did not look like him. This would appear to be a conspiracy. The basic idea about TGA, transient global amnesia, is that it's best to expose a victim to as many familiar things for the best chance at getting back their memory. I'm going to take a guess and say that our home planet is nothing like Earth. Seeing the face of a familiar enemy might have easily have recovered their memories. Humans on the home planet probably knew the face of God's race all too well. I tend to pick on the gray aliens because of one major reason, and while it's not proof, it answers one odd thing. All total combined reported visits that we encounter, more than 2 to 1 are gray aliens. We are in fact defenseless against any of them, and they can abduct us and do whatever they want whenever they want. So it leaves them having an interest in our DNA, but it's a little redundant, as they could simply keep DNA many ways without ongoing visits. Aside from sperm and eggs, there is only one possibility. The home planet is real and is a home planet with our human relatives, and the Greys are using technology against heaven, and we are the lab rats that they used to develop it. Aside from that, it could also be ova and eggs and surrogacy. It explains redundant visits and the ongoing need for technology. It also explains why we were put here. It is possible that they have been at war with us for some time and have had one hell of a time succeeding, or simply want to remain more than one step ahead of us. There is something else of great importance this also answers: our purpose in life. Here on Earth, you will never know what our purpose is because it's something that's not on this earth. You might agree with me that we all go to the grave with that unfulfilled feeling. I don't want to simplify things, but if you look at an anteater here on Earth, he has a snout to sniff out the ants, a long sticky tongue to reach into the hills and grab ants, and harsh claws to tear up the ant hills. If he was smart enough to think about it, he would never ask what his purpose is in life. I'm making some assumptions here, but if our higher mental abilities were functioning, we probably did things that required them. Aside, there would be obvious things on our home planet telling us that it's our home in a plethora of ways. Technology is a major reason for all of this. In biblical times, it's obvious that aliens possessed atom bombs, radio communications, and artificial insemination, as well as DNA mutations, over 2,000 years ago. Imagine what they have today. Slowing us down as lab rats ensured we don't try to leave the cage. Removing our higher powers probably prevented us from ever getting off this rock without outside help. This is exactly why the aliens do this. It's to advance themselves to where they can develop this type of technology, and I have to agree that it is the best road for any form of life. It's a militant style that even us humans use, but have been blind to the fact that it's being used on us. You have to realize that if the Greys wanted to abduct a human and simply keep them on their planet, that human would most likely die. Their planet is surely not made for a human. Taking one race to another's planet is simply not a good idea, which is also the predicament that we are in. With any race, the accommodations are too involved and would require too much effort, most likely just being impossible. This tells me there was a lot of thought and planning put into us being placed here, but overall there's no way it can work right. Mother Nature will continue to reject us and we can only fight back. We are stuck here and have no way to get home. The rejection is so bad we see this in the form of people committing suicide, drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, and numerous other types of self-abuse. The reason this happens is because we are trying to function on a planet that we don't belong on, while in the dumbed down factor, and at the same time that Mother Nature is pushing us out. Since we can't leave, we abuse ourselves. We are castaways. Even if our home planet realized we were missing, they might not know where to look. I think in most cases, if someone is abducted, chances are they will bring them back, unless they want to dissect them. I have reviewed thousands of cases and can tell you it's never good times. E.T. is not our friend. For the first time in my life, I realized that one could be a friendly attempt in 1997, March 13th in Phoenix, Arizona. A delta-shaped craft positioned itself over the city and slowly turned on each of its lights on the bottom of the ship, then moments later turned each one off, but not in the same order. It would appear to be a friendly contact. It could have been chalked up to imagination or wishful thinking, but apparently it was immediately followed up by another craft hoping to get a response. And how can we? We aren't ready to decode the message they flashed, and our city lights aren't set up to answer them back. We are so far behind the times, and it's because we are stuck in the dumbed down factor. What if they are from our home planet? It's sad, very sad. There's a big difference between Greys abducting us and what appears to be a non-aggressive type of communication. I'm not making any claims that their intentions are good, but it makes you wonder. Since man has recently been dated by our DNA as being 200,000 years old, and we are living in the year 2011, it proves there is a home planet. I can speculate that on heaven the population has to be around 1 trillion. If my assumptions are accurate and the Greys have been attacking heaven with technology that's made through us, it makes you wonder if they have considered that there could be humans on another planet. It is possible that they could stand face to face with us and not accept us as being relatives because we are disabled. While I don't have a photograph proving aliens were involved in the scheme of things, I do have what I'm referring to as the 7 elements. Reports from thousands of people all over the course of history have repeatedly included the involvement of these elements. The thing you have to understand is that we know very little about aliens and other life out there. It's one thing for me to claim that we aren't from this planet, and I can easily prove so with thousands of obvious examples. It's something something completely different to tie 7 elements to aliens when we might only know, say, a total of 25 things about them. These elements are the very thing that has kept us from realizing, admitting, and understanding the Bible, and in how our existence came into play. Basically, if these were added to the Bible, not only would it make complete sense, but no one would have a problem believing in it. It's truly a smoking gun. The 7 elements are amnesia or TGA, interstellar transportation, advanced technology, telepathic powers, abductions, redundant visits, DNA experiments. These 7 elements are not only presently based on testimonials from encounters, but even if you don't believe in ET, I would still bet that you've heard of some of these abilities. The fact is that there are thousands of reports to back these up. It's either real or thousands of people are randomly fantasizing about the exact same thing all over the planet. Our existence here on Earth is not only explainable, but only possible through understanding these. While I have no proof that God was a gray alien, I have no problem agreeing he could have been a different race. The aggression noticed in the 7 elements and the competition of life points me to the grays.